Are we live? We're live. Hey, everybody. So good to see you today. You guys jumped on quick. You took me up on my Starbucks gift card. I see lots of you here already. I'm glad you're here. So happy to have you today. We're talking about how we talk to our kids. So I'm going to share a story from my childhood. And then I'm going to give you some really practical tips for how to improve the way you talk to your kids. So here's what I need to know first. I need you to tell me first if you're a yeller. And I don't want you to tell me this in order for you to, feel guilty or shame yourself or whatever. We all have, our own upbringing, our own reasons for how we talk, what we do, our behavior, and all of that. But I do want to bring a little bit more awareness to it. Can you all see okay? I think it's because I don't have my glasses on. Everything looks fuzzy. But I want you to tell me if you're a yeller. You guys are like, fix me, please. So when I was growing up, I grew up around really miserable, slightly mean Appalachians. And the way I heard people talk when I was really young was very negative. Even if they didn't actually feel that negative about the thing they were saying, it just sounded like they were always mad. And my oh, it's really bright. Sorry, you guys. And my the way that I internalized that is that I just assumed they were mad at me, right? When somebody talks mad to you, you're like, oh, they must be mad. And it's interesting. It's really common in the area where I'm from among like more mountain people, I'm guessing, probably, that there's just this way of talking that just sounds mean. And so when my cousin and my sister and I get together, we talk like that. You guys, have you ever heard me speak Appalachian? I can speak it very well. I don't think I'm going to do it here on live stream today, but I'm really good at it. And when we get together, we speak it because it's like our first language. So I was talking to a friend this morning at the gym about this because we both were kind of raised by these, Appalachian savages. And not my mom, by the way. My mom provided a different way of talking, but which was like, it took me a while to realize the difference. But I realized that this way of talking had a huge impact on me. And it was basically the script that was going on in my mind, like all the time. And it was really negative. And it was, now to me, it's like slightly comical. It's kind of the way, you guys, it's kind of the way Tom talks. He always sounds mad, even when he's not. He talks loud because he was also raised by an older, kind of this Appalachian way of being. Now, I love my roots so much. If you've read my book, I love my people and I have a lot of respect for them. But I will say that it took me a long time to like deprogram myself from this negative talk. And even though I didn't really, I think I had enough of an awareness about it when I started having kids that I really never talked to my kids like that. But I always heard that script in my mind. So tell me if you were raised by people who basically, where there's this, it's loud, either yellers or, people are super confrontational or that's just their way of being, right? And so it took me a long time to deprogram myself from this. But when I come back together with my people, it's kind of like somebody, like people who would speak English as a second language, maybe Spanish is their first language, and they get back together with their people. They're like, da 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 da, and that's how I feel like I am when I get back with my people. I'm like, oh, and so when I started doing like a lot of self-growth, Yes, it is for sure, Rachel. It's like it is a beautiful cadence. I love the accent for sure. But the negativity took me a long time over, and I didn't realize how powerful it was in my mind until I started doing a lot of growth and thought work and all of that. So I have never really struggled with yelling at my kids. I think because I was so tender and hurt often by the way I was spoken to. And I remember, you guys, when I went to kindergarten, I remember how gentle and how kind my kindergarten teacher was to me. And I thought to myself, like, this is like another world. This is another level. Like I had no idea. Like, oh my gosh, just her level of her soft spokenness and her level of kindness. And after I wrote my book a few years ago, I actually went back and found her and told her what an impact she made on my life. You guys, her words to me 47 years ago, 45 years ago, whatever, still make an impact on my life. And I went back to tell her that. And I think we're in my coaching program, Life Mentoring School, we're studying nurture this month, how we nurture ourselves, how we nurture our children, how we nurture our own gifts, within ourselves. And one of the things that people struggle with so much is this topic, like yelling. People don't want to be yelling at their kids. Nobody wants to be at Walmart, y'all, and hear people yelling at their kids. Like there's something in all of us that goes, oh, I mean, is that really necessary? But we also all live as humans in reality. And sometimes we would shake our heads and go, yes, it is necessary. Have you seen my children? The savages that they are. So I get it. And when we brought Thomas into our house to adopt him, I have a very much more soft-spoken way of being than he was used to. But he had this sort of Appalachian. We often say in my family, you guys, that Thomas is like the reincarnation. No, I don't believe in reincarnation. We're just kidding. Of my dad and some other people in my dad's family. And it's like God had some, amazing master plan for bringing us together, because it is kind of like raising my dad. He never wears a shirt. And actually my dad's words to me were actually way softer and kinder, but a lot of people in my family, again, not meaning to intentionally hurt, but just their words were very searing, and it made me take a pause. And when I had my own children, I was like, I'm not talking to my children like that. So the thing that I want to remind us all of, you guys, is how powerful words are. I think we know this intellectually. We know how powerful they are. But I want you to think of something in your life where somebody spoke it to you probably when you were younger, and you carry it. You've carried it forever. You hear it over and over. And I think we know from our own experience that words are so powerful. There's a little book, and I can't remember the name of it, but they basically did this, science experiment where they speak kindly to different things, water, plants, whatever. And they record how, in the one with water, they basically, speak life, speak positively over this water, and then how it freezes is like this beautiful, amazing pattern, or they play classical music for it or whatever, something very healing and pleasant and life-giving. They do the same thing with negative words, and the way the crystals form, it's like ugly and not in a pattern. And it's basically an experiment to tell us what we already know, which is that our words carry power. They either bring life or death. And so I don't say that to make us all feel guilty for the times when we don't speak kindly, but I want to bring an awareness to how we speak to our kids. By number one, I want to bring in an awareness for how you speak to yourself. The first step to speaking more kindly to other people in your life is to speak more kindly to you. So lots of you have a lot of negative self-talk about yourself. So the reason it's so easy for you to speak negatively to other people is because you do it all day long to yourself. You have this rut worn in your brain of how you talk to yourself, and then that just carries over, right? And I think becoming aware of how we talk to ourselves is real important. The other thing that I want to sort of lay the foundation is I don't want you to use this to beat yourself up, to make yourself feel more guilty. I want you to go, oh my gosh, I'm one of the humans who happens to not speak kindly to myself and to my kids sometimes. And I want to grow in this area. So, heaping on a bunch of guilt and shame about this is actually not going to help you change it. The only thing that I would recommend is that if you do have a lot of guilt about it, that you just pray and you ask for forgiveness. God will forgive you and you move on and you become way more aware of how you talk to yourself and how you talk to the people in your life, because you are literally either helping them grow and flourish and learn how to talk to themselves, right? And learn how to talk to other people, or not. And the funny thing about my experience with raising Thomas is that even though he has this sort of harshness with the way he does it, he's very sensitive to everything I say to him. He's very sensitive to my tone of voice. He's very sensitive to if even if I'm just tired, he can sense that I don't have the same inflection in my voice, because I have over the years really tried to work on the way I talk to the people in my life. I want my words to bring life. And when they don't, he's very sensitive to it. And I just think it's so interesting because he can, he's kind of a yeller. So he can yell and he can do all that. Doesn't bother him. But boy, if I so much as change my tone in the slightest, he's very sensitive to it. So I want to, and I've just noticed that over time, the more I just hold space for how he has been, you know, programmed like I was programmed when I was little. I hold space for that and I try to not come down on that too much. And I just infuse all the goodness. I just noticed that over time, it has gotten so much better. So number one, to get better at this is to speak more kindly to yourself. Realize that you're human, that you are loved and adored, and that you'll do plenty of things wrong, and there's grace for that. And as you have more patience and kindness and even curiosity, you guys, like sometimes when I notice like that I'm not speaking life into my people, I'm like, well, that's interesting because I normally do. So what is going on with me? Like, just get curious with yourself about why maybe you're not speaking the way you want to yourself and to other people. So getting curious, compassionate, having lots of grace for yourself, and deciding what you want to speak to yourself, deciding that ahead of time, and practicing believing that you are the kind of person who speaks life, who speaks kindly, deciding that you're not a yeller. See, some of you, I ask you in a way that kind of led you into it, but maybe you just rewrite that story. I mean, that's a story you're telling yourself, that you're a yeller. So just retell a better story, y'all. So number two is then after you do that and you speak more kindly to yourself, you will naturally speak more kindly to other people, including your kids. So one of the things that I love to think about when I'm in situations with my family, I realize, and I think most of you here are women, and I think we know this, we set the tone. When we're not in a good mood, everybody can feel it. And not that we should be in a good mood all the time, but just that we're aware of how our presence affects other people and how aware we are of what our words do to other people and how powerful they are. Words create things, y'all. And so I ask myself, what am I creating right now in my family, in my children? What kind of words, what kind of life, what kind of nurture am I creating by the way I speak to them? And we often teach this in life mentoring school, where you just take a little pause and you like, somebody says something to you, your tendency is to just react right back and get smart right back with them and yell right back, or whatever, and just taking a pause. I often in my head go, life or death. That may seem dramatic, but it really helps me. Life or death. What do you choose? Are you choosing life or death in this reaction? Are you choosing life or death in these words? And it really, really helps. So if you have trouble with this, just give yourself a little space. Give yourself a little pause. Give yourself a little second to not just react, because if we just react, we're just going to mirror them. There's a lot of study on emotion that, emotions are just energy. And like energies attract each other. So your tendency is going to be to mirror their energy. So they get all riled up and mad. You're going to have a tendency to match that, but you have agency and control over that. And you can take a pause and go, no, I don't want to match that. I want to hold space for peace right here today. I want to hold space for maybe getting curious about what they're going through. And so doing that for ourselves, first of all, being curious. A lot of times I just try to be curious with myself. Oh, it's interesting that feel really impatient today. What's that about? Or whatever. And then the same thing with them. The third thing that I think that has really helped me is writing it out. So a lot of times if I'm struggling with one of my kids, and this is another thing that we teach in Life Mentoring School, is I just brainstorm everything I love about them. And I actually write it down. And I have always had a habit of I love writing my kids, little notes, or if it's their birthday, or if it's whatever, I like, doing even social media posts or sending them text or whatever. So how can you speak life by writing it down? How can you decide how you want to speak and think by writing it down first and kind of practicing that? As you write it down, what you're going to be amazed by is that how amazing your people are. You're going to brainstorm everything you love about them, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, how was I so irritated and mad the other day? These people are amazing, right? And so brainstorming on paper really, really helps me. So I would love to know what your ways are of reversing that. Yes, we do. Somebody mentioned turn around. We talk about that a lot in Life Mentoring School. Just turn around. You're going the wrong way. You're headed toward death. Turn around. And the sooner you turn around, the better. We get stubborn in the way we're going. We're like, hey, they were being mean. I'm going to be mean right back. Or they were being loud, or they were yelling, and I'm going to yell right back. Well, you can do that if you want, but that road doesn't often lead anywhere productive. So the sooner you turn around, the better. And that does require some humility. It does require a little bit of a pause. So I would love to know things that you try, maybe some tips that you have for how you have made some groundwork in this area, made some progress, have learned to speak a little kinder to yourself and to your kids. I think that this is something that is so fun to practice, you guys. It really is, because here's what's going to happen. If you tell yourself right now, okay, for the rest of the day, I'm going to be really conscious of how I speak. Here's what's going to happen. There's going to be plenty of opportunity for it to go south. If you live in a family like mine, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for you to feel justified in what you say. But I want you to ask yourself today, in all those different interactions, I want you to ask yourself, am I taking a pause? Am I speaking life or death? Is this encouraging them to be who they can be? I always think of it too as, is this my highest self showing up to this interaction today? And maybe you have, especially in the afternoon, maybe you have interactions that seem to always go south. I'd love to know that. If you have times of the day where you're like, oh, I do okay until 5 o'clock when everybody's hungry and crabby, or whatever. I think if you can think of those times ahead of time, and you can say wow, I want to show up as my highest self in this interaction today. And that intention, I'm telling you, will change your life. Because here's the thing, you guys, when we spend a lot of time yelling and being angry and frustrated with our kids, I want you to think about this for a minute. Who is it that's actually feeling angry and frustrated most of the day? That would be us, right? And I don't know about you, but there's a lot of other things I would like to feel besides angry and frustrated. And we do have the power to choose something different. So choose well. Life or death, choose life. All righty. Love you guys. Thanks for coming today. And listen, if you Know that you were among the first few to comment. We are giving away Starbucks gift cards for the first 5 commenters on the live stream. Make sure you email my assistant, Angela, at lifeandgraceva@gmail.com. lifeandgraceva@gmail.com, and we'll get you a Starbucks gift card. Don't forget to go open my email because I tell you what my favorite drink is at Starbucks in case you want to try it. Yeah, Angela just put it here in the comments. So, all right, you guys, thank you. Love you. See you next week. Bye.